All right, it's 9:50 p.m. Wednesday, December 3rd, and new globalist attack on me through satanic cops and Freemasons and all this other bullshit. So basically, um, now it's a damn implant. And so what they're doing is they have like a little ball implant of some kind. Not sure. It's probably constructed as a, or obviously artificially, and it's creating a bunch of spasms just above my left knee. And this is supposed to be like a new motivator. Um, so I want to give people an idea of the absurdity of the situation. I want you to imagine that you're minding your business, and then someone comes out. Let's say your boss at work, if you're not working for yourself, and he shows up to your house and he slashes your tires. And then, let's say 7 o'clock, 7 a.m. And then instead of showing up at 9 a.m., you show up at 11 a.m. because someone slashed your tires. And he's like, hey, you're late. No shit, really. So, uh, how do we put this? There's a good saying, fuck around and find out. Well, they're finding out. When people cause me damage and I have to negate that damage, they waste time. So I will give you guys an example. There's another spasm attack. Um, so basically, I get an email, and the basic HTML, you have a head and a body, right? Very very simple, small head, big body. Okay, and that's how the code's supposed to be. And you're supposed to have one opening tag for the head element and one closing tag for the head element and one opening tag for the body element and one closing tag for the body element. So instead of that, there are two opening tags for the head, two closing tags for the head, two opening tags for the body, and two closing tags for the body. And it took me 3 hours to figure out what the hell's going on. Is this me? Is it the email? What's going on? Determine, okay, this is what's going on. Then figure out how do I address this code, and then implement a fix, work on a fix on a test file where I have a controlled situation. I can just reload, change, reload until everything's working and have a nice, good, crystal clear. And then figure out where in my code this goes because it's email and it's insane. And then implement it and make sure it works. Now, thankfully, it was only 3 hours of my time, but I got it done. But this is an example where the destruction of all of humanity by globalists, spearheaded by corporate fascism and Marxist slavery parasites, which are working hand in hand, even if some of them don't realize it. And that's that boss that shows up and slashes your tires. And then people get upset that, oh, hey, he's not doing what we want him to do. Well, no shit, really? Just because I know some people might come across as being like, what the hell is he talking about? I don't relate to that. Look, everyone's experiences are their own. Okay. I don't know the people, the mother and father that other people have. I don't know the childhoods. I don't know any of that. That's not my experiences. I have my experiences. And I don't see and hear things or whatever because I want to, because the whole thing, oh no, we'll just say he's crazy and shove it off while we commit crimes against him, right? That's the MO. That's the go-to every fucking time. Okay. So, and I said out loud because I hit with my umbrella getting out of my car in front of the CIA handler's house. All right. The invisible drone. When you hit sheet metal, like here's a desk. Okay. Here's a speaker. Okay. Those are very clearly two sounds. And when you hear sheet metal and you physically hit something and you don't see anything there, that's how you tell, okay, it's an invisible drone. Okay, they had invisible, the Bilbo Baggins' invisible cloak or whatever from The Hobbit. Look up YouTube videos, early 2000. Okay, if what you and I as civilians can see has been out, let's say just today, then you know that the intelligence agencies or whoever have had it out for at least 1, 2, 3 decades, if not longer. So I don't care about perception. I care about reality. Perception is your relativistic take on reality. Then there's what there actually is. An example, you can hear in the frequencies, what was it, like 20 to 20,000 hertz? Okay. That's this little tiny sliver over here. And then visually, we see in the terahertz range. So where is my finger? Okay, so here. So here's these two extremes. Terahertz, that's not hundreds, that's not thousands, that's not millions, that's not billions. That's trillions of hertz. That's a lot of stuff in between that you can't see, hear, smell, whatever. Okay. So take the whole he's crazy, blah blah blah, and go dump it in a lake. Okay. So I said out loud to whatever satanic cop is on duty right now. Duty. All right, that's probably not the best word. Is being paid to monitor. All right, for lack of a better word. And I said, better stop that, because I'm doing literally maybe an hour's work of tasks. There's another minor spasm attack right there, and I literally logging every damn spasm attack. And I'm literally doing an hour's worth of work before I shift back into sales. Okay, because I need to be focused on sales and I need to focus on doing what I need to do. And so this is definitely going on YouTube. I'm not fucking around. I says I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna fucking do it. Um, so when people watch these videos, like what, all the pain and suffering that is being caused is being caused by, you know, literally police working for Freemasons, working for intelligence agencies, working for so on and so on and so forth. And all these, there's a very large hierarchy and there's levels and it's all there, whether or not you acknowledge it. Um, the cures for most diseases, billionaires have paid long ago to figure that out because they're still human. They still have these things. And pretty much the vast majority of the problems are caused by these people. There's just no way around it. Human stupidity, like people naturally organize, and stupid people fall off the bandwagon by default. But when we have Marxism, i.e., socialism, communism, that shit by any other word is still shit. It's Marxist slavery parasites. The abolishment of private property. That's what this is. And so when we have that, their goal is to create as much destruction and chaos and bullshit. That's their goal. And then they get pissed off at themselves, but then blame me for having to negate their bullshit and then think they're going to like punish me, okay, with like a spasm attack. So here's a slap back in the face. Stop doing stupid shit. People self-organize. Imagine that shit, okay? And I'm going to be doing sales when I fucking determine that, okay? So I'm sure this is going to annoy someone good. I hope it fucking annoys them because instead of doing an hour's worth of work, being in my home in peace and not dealing with bullshit, I'm otherwise dealing with bullshit. And I'm going to trumpet the fucking horn. I'm going to let everyone fucking know. Because that's what you do. And that's for talking back to normal people who are not criminals. When someone commits a crime against you, you don't be silent and go die in the corner. Fuck that. You fucking trumpet that shit. You let everyone know, hey, here's some evil people doing evil shit. You put a fucking spotlight on it. That's what you do. Why? Because everyone knows that people are committing crimes, Right now, what they'll do is they'll get some other people, they'll get some stage actors, because it's all theater. Okay, it's not theater. They like to call it theater. It's all acting. Okay, and they'll say, "Oh, hey, he's not doing business. So we're going to make it feel like the fact that he's making these videos or spotlight. We're going to try to like shame him or some bullshit. That might happen. All right." They could waste their time with that, but that would be dumb to the fuck, right? Because it's dumb and there's dumb to the fuck. Okay. So, um, if it wastes their time and they're not bothering someone else, fine. Um, they should be bothering themselves for their incompetence. Anyway, did we waste enough time here? I don't know. So, let's go through the log, shall we? My log is now 667 entries. We'll go to just to yesterday, or actually just today, because it's 10 o'clock in the evening. All right, 12:01, 12:26, 12:30, 2:09, 2:49, 3:03, 3:48, 3:59, 4:05, 4:09, 4:26 a.m., 4:47, 4:52, 5:03, 5:09, 5:14, 5:19, 8:08 a.m., 8:35, 8:53, 9:47, 11:21, 11:22, 11:43, and then I went to bed about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And then I wake up to a massive spasm attack at 7:45, 9:03, 9:37, 9:41 to 9:42, which was included an attack on family member, 9:45, 9:46, and of course, several individual spasms. Now, here's the thing. People say, wasn't it just in your head? And this is just something like they're blaming magnesium deficiencies, right? Yeah, magnesium deficiencies, right? So I'm going to give people a really good example. There is a topic that I'm not going to discuss about in this video that was my second major topic in life. Okay. And I never told a soul about this, because when you're learning about things and you learn, hey, you're figuring out stuff about the world and everything's wrong about this topic because your inner instinct is saying, that is wrong. That is wrong. And I know it's wrong, but I don't know how to verbally articulate what's going on in a way where it makes sense to people and have conversations. So you just stay quiet about whatever that topic is. Could be whatever the hell. Okay. And then suddenly, after I was discovered in 2008, family members would start saying absolutely terrible shit about that topic. All right. And I'm not going to reiterate any of that, but basically, there's high correlation. And there's kind of like a saying, like once, twice, three times. We're not talking once, twice, three times. We're talking hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of iterations. I'm a philosophical realist. I don't care about my perception. I care about how I perceive my perception and correct it for what is real. What is reality? I don't care about my perception, because there's little tiny sound range over there, and then you have the terahertz range, and what's here. Okay. So what's the picture in whole and total? Okay. I don't care when it comes to perceiving reality and comprehending reality, because I don't care about the perception. I care about comprehension. Okay. And I don't want to think what I want to think. I want to think what I need to think in order to accomplish my goals. Rational, objective thought. Okay. That's what matters. So I don't see things because I want to see things. I don't hear things. I sure as hell don't feel things like the spasms on my knee because I chose to feel them. Okay. So pretty sure I've made a very heavy weighted attack against the, oh, he's crazy MO of all the bullshitters that do all this stuff. So anyway, yeah, probably could have had the tech done by now, but no, they decided to attack me because they're upset at themselves, but they don't want to admit that and whatever. So, and I know like the names of these people, all right, at least most of the people. I know it's the Florida Sheriff's Association. and they in turn are run by Freemasons and what's the other term for Freemasons? I can't remember offhand. And they in turn are controlled by someone and so forth. If you leave people the fuck alone, I'm going on a limb here, they'll get things done. Imagine that shit, right? But it's stupid. This is what happens when people don't shoot evil people. Evil people go off and do evil shit. I'm gonna give you a perfect example of propaganda. An eye for an eye and the whole world's blind. No. If someone's going around poking all eyes, you kill them outright. Why? Because now they're not going around making more victims. All right. There is a city in Tennessee, and there's a story where they ran the cops out. Okay. Now, I'm not saying all cops are evil pieces of shit, but there are obviously, everyone knows that there are at least a portion of cops that are evil pieces of shit. And I confirmed, like an example, in 2024, someone rigged something because they do like surgical stuff on me. There's obviously implants. There's a whole bunch of control bullshit mechanisms um, physically in me. Okay, forget about the stuff around me and whatnot. And so basically, I'm gonna, I can't just focus on doing my work. This is the stupid shit I got to deal with. Okay. And so basically, going back to, I guess we were talking about Tennessee, the psychology, um, an eye for an eye, and there's another spasm attack, and I can't even document all the spasm attacks. Um, it's just insane. Yeah, if and they're doing this like so that way they can extend the video. All right, because it's stupid, and they can control how large or small or how frequent, like one or multiple spasms or whatever. Um, so all this stuff is control bullshit control mechanisms. That's an attack on me. Um, and so basically, how do I put this? They ran out the criminal cops because police are the police. The concept of police is legalism. And legalism is criminal. It's not legalism is anti-law. Police is anti-law enforcement. An example. Okay, so oh, last year. That's where it was. Okay, because I don't have time to edit all this stuff. I literally have double-digit number amount of money in my account, and that's by design from all the bullshit control mechanisms around my life. All right. Um, and so last year, because they do all this stuff to me, they needed to demonize me to the cops that are paid to monitor me, for a lack of better word, okay, or control the situation, control the narrative, etc. All right. And so basically what they did was they had someone come along and sabotage me, and they says, oh, the fake courts, because those aren't courts. A court of law has public servants, right? It's public. There's nothing private there. Okay. That means you should be able to record. And that's the whole thing, is that they set this thing up where they would get the cops upset at me so the cops could justify doing whatever the hell they want. And you know, basically dehumanizing me. All right. And that's what they do with all I guess it's called targeted individuals. Okay. So like, they shut out access to my Facebook account, an example. Okay. So there's a lot of stupid shit. So basically, I'm gonna write this down. So I have Okay. And the thing is that when we make, I shoot these videos, I don't have time to make a script and go through all this stuff because of the shit. So unfortunately, when I can't give an easily digestible yet video format of what's going on behind the scenes and the constant attacks by, we'll just say globalists in general. Okay. Um, and so basically, because at some point there's gonna be a room of people, like just whole goddamn meetings around me. That there's meetings. There are people who get in a room around the table and have meetings and they'll watch videos like this. Okay. That's how they even put the stuff in the movies. All right. Now, I'm not saying that they're literally mocking people because people are too stupid to put this together because people are worried about their individual lives. But here's the thing is if your life is complete at their mercy, then your life has no value. Okay. Because no matter what you're going to do and work towards, it has no value if someone else has total control over it. That means stop working on that and start focusing on them. Because if no one can accomplish their goals, everyone should be focused on their absolute and complete destruction. Yes, and I'm saying that knowing these people are going to be watching these videos. Um, that's what happens. Because if we don't have, if you are considered a slave, a plaything, or whatever the hell term that these people use, then and they have power over you, then your life has no value, right? There's no fucking point to trying to do your normal goals in life. We all need to be taking our total attention and focused on these people. That's what we need to be doing. Um, because there's literally thousands and thousands of these people. Why? Because people don't shoot. It's like, oh, that's a crime. These are slavers. Killing a slaver parasite is not a crime. It is not only lawful, it is everyone's patriotic duty. Now, there is a difference, of course, between just going out and randomly shooting cops, because not all cops are evil pieces of shit, as I already said before. Okay, and I'm not saying that to suck up to the people attacking me. I do not give a shit about sucking up the people attacking me. Okay, but it takes 5 seconds to go online and see, good cop fired from job, right? From protecting someone, protecting another cop. They'll attack each other. They don't give a shit. These are Marxist slaver parasites. Marxists have no morals, no ethics. They're slaver parasites. That's what they do. They don't contribute anything to society. Their goal is to take and give nothing. Literally. The only thing they give is pain and suffering to people, right? So you still have to be responsible, but you have to shift your focus and attention. So, oh, I can't do that. Oh, I got bills to pay, blah, blah, blah. There's always going to be some bullshit excuse that people are going to make. And that's why the world is the way it is, because good people aren't killing evil people. That's what we need. We need good people killing evil people. And you can't just go out and do some random violence. That is not legitimate. I'm talking about righteous force. Righteous force is someone is evil. You've confirmed they're evil. And you're like, oh, there's no law. We got to define things. Okay. Law requires government. Government requires neutrality. Okay. When you see United States of America, Florida state of Florida, whatever county, whatever city, and it's all capital letters, that's a corporate entity. It is registered. Register is a legalese term for surrender. Okay, so this corporate entity surrendered to this corporate entity that surrendered to this corporate entity. It's like 100-story plus, hierarchy of bullshit. That's what that is. Okay, and so people thinking they own other people. All right, thinking, because I am not a slave. All right, and I'm more than happy to shoot anyone who thinks that I am their slave. That's what you're supposed to do. Okay. And they're going to try to make other people think that I'm crazy for doing exactly what we should be doing. What is the one word that people are supposed to think of when we say the United States of America? Freedom. What is the opposite of freedom? Slavery. Slavery is not some miscellaneous thing that's sitting over in a corner. It's evil pieces of shit people. That's what slavery is. And you know how you solve that problem? You shoot them, because slavers are getting shot. How likely are it is to say, hey, should you want to participate in slavery? Well, it seems like everyone who keeps doing slavery is getting shot. You know what? Maybe I'll focus on being a productive member of society instead. That's what we need. To have freedom, you have to be responsible. And you have to know your priorities. These slavery pieces of shit doing attacks on me, they don't have their priorities set straight. Because if they want me to shift over to sales, the last thing they should be doing is fucking distracting me and fucking attacking me and giving me artificially induced spasms just above my left knee. Absolutely no fucking point to that. So, yeah, and here's the thing: there's got to be so much manipulation, because I helped one of these guys literally move from one house to another. He's renting a house, okay, and I don't like, if you know them and if you remove all the bullshit that's going on, they're decent people, all right, but whatever the reason is, because I don't want to hate people. I have no reason to hate people. I spent probably hundreds of hours talking with some of them, okay, not knowing that they were, criminal police, and eventually figuring things out over time, of course, because you don't just instantly wake up and say, oh, hey, this is how reality works. This is what's going on in reality. Not how reality works, but this is what is currently going on in reality, okay? Because there's what should be and there's what is, okay? And I'm saying that objectively speaking, not idealistically, okay? I don't like the idea that, I'm going to have to shoot people one day, but that's the reality. Because if I know there's evil and I don't do anything about evil, evil is going to propagate, and then there's going to be nothing but a complete stronghold. And with all the technology and everything that's going on, okay, um, it's going to require an outside force, and they've got like fake alien invasions. That stuff is in the cards, whether they use those cards or not, right? Um, so it's frustrating, but I think the most frustrating part is that people need to comprehend we're all responsible, or we're not. And there's a really good saying: all evil needs to do to succeed is for good men to do nothing. Okay, now that extends to women too. A woman can hold a gun and a woman can shoot an evil piece of shit. Of course, remember, there's manipulation and everyone has multiple demographics. Okay, gender is a demographic. Which are the two genders without all the bullshit? Okay, your race. If you have a race, all right, if you've lost your race, sorry, then figure out where the lowest race is. That's where you're at. Okay, saying that objectively. Hey, a dollar bill from one race to another has the same worth. But in reality, that's what they're trying to do. And that's another thing that they're trying to do. They're trying to destroy culture. And culture is not only race, but it includes it. And every race is under attack. All right. Every demographic is under attack. You have professions, you have age, Gen Z versus Gen Y, or whatever. Or everything that is good and solid. Okay? Now, I don't like religion. Okay. Because here's the thing. Religion, the foundation of religion is belief. All right. Now, you technically have the right to believe whatever you want. And I will honor people's right to believe whatever they want. But that's the problem, is people are mistaking, like an example, how people mistake emotion for thought. No, emotion is not thought. Emotion is the preamble to thought. Okay. People mistake belief for knowledge. Oh, there's a government. No, there's not government. Because a criminal corporation that is because business is supposed to be for profit, right? But a business does not impose on your individual sovereign rights. Okay. So the moment that a corporation masquerades as a government, that's instantly, irrevocably is criminal. Act of 1871 converted the United States government to a criminal corporation. We've had literally, if your government is all capital letters, and you go to China, okay, and right next to the Chinese symbols, you're going to see Latin characters. Latin being, the Latin alphabet, all right, that we use for English and whatever languages. All capital letters. All right, it's all fake bullshit. It's all actors. It's all people pretending. And the thing is, you have to have a comprehension on an understanding, because understanding is legalese, criminal language for voluntary servitude, i.e., voluntary slavery. Okay. Not all of these actors know that they're acting, all right, because they just go out and find someone who's on drugs or someone who's emotional and irrational, and they have no idea, and they'll go ahead and manipulate them, and they'll create an artificial conflict because they've taken control over the money supply and all that stuff. Okay, because we're not even using money; we're using currency. Okay, um, so yeah, you have to know, is your knowledge, or is it a belief? Okay, is your thought critical thinking, or emotions? You have to determine that. Okay, and if a simple way to determine that, like if it is emotionally appealing and it was easy to acquire, that's a bad sign that whatever that is, no offense, it's not trying to be offensive, all right, but the reality, your thought and your perception of reality is not the same thing as reality. That's your relativistic comprehension of what you see. But we're all in the same one reality. There's only one reality that we are all in. Okay. So I have a program that runs in the background, and I literally log everything every error, because an error is when I'm wrong, and I want and I need to know that I'm wrong, so that way I can self-correct. I want a more desirable outcome. Okay. So how do I get a desirable outcome? By knowing when I'm wrong. Not just no, because yes, we all know when someone else is wrong, but it's much more important to know when you're wrong. You still need to know when other people are wrong. You go to someone who calls himself a doctor and says, hey, take these drugs. That's going to maybe fix this one little tiny side effect and have 10,000 issues, including killing yourself. Okay. And I went to a celebration of life gathering for someone that happened to, and that's what's going on. So basically, yes, there's a lot of effort. Yes, it's difficult. Yes, you have to figure this stuff out, and no, you're not going to come across people like me who have a lot of these answers very easily. All right, but make it very simple. You have two very simple choices. You can make no effort and guarantee that you're going to be suffering and eventually dead at some point much earlier than you would like. Okay. Or you can make an effort and still struggle, but make things better than what evil people are trying to do to you and I. It's very simple. And it's regrettable that I can't just outwork what I'm already doing and suddenly inject responsibility into other people's lives. So that way, the people who are committing crimes against me or suddenly knew how to defend themselves against going down the wrong path and becoming criminals themselves. I would do that if I could, but I can't. And that's a shame. But at the end of the day, you're either going to shoot an evil person and remove evil from the world, or you're going to let them go on and keep committing crimes and making more victims and making existing victims suffer even more. And you either have the moral fortitude to know, I know the difference between feeling and thinking. I know the difference between, my interpretation and reality. And I know the difference between, weighing the ethics and morals. And then when you know, and you've got to determine, like, when you hear the trash on TV, the fake news, because it's all fake, okay, which is a little bit of truth to make it to, just like an example with the police, they do solve some crimes, okay, because they need to have the appearance that they're law enforcement. No, they're not. Okay, just like when they attacked me around Thanksgiving, because the UN and these globalist organizations, none of those people are elected. Those aren't government. They're not. Government's supposed to be elected. Actually, it's supposed to be selected, not elected. Elected is we've chosen these bullshitters. I'm not even voting next time because it's criminal. It's a waste. Because I give you an example. We have the Democrats, which are the left wing political extremists. All right, they're Marxist. They're straight up Marxist. Then you have the Republicans, the fake Republicans, Rhino, Republican in name only. Okay, so they're basically soft Marxists, and they're more focused on the corporate aspects. And corporatism is not business. Corporatism is the fascist aspect. Okay, that's what Mussolini is quoted. Fascism is where business, he means corporations, and government, he means the fake government, meet. Okay, that's what those are actually are about. It's all globalism. All right, that's all about slavery and literal global tyranny. That's what these people want. Okay, and it sucks because if I had my way, everyone would just like drop all the evil shit they're doing and say, you know what, this is not worth it. Um, but at some point we have to start shooting these people, and you got to remember they want you to do these things. They want left versus right, man versus woman, old versus young. They want all that. You have to know how to, I have a very good illustration. Now it's uh, there's a demonic symbol that misrepresents Jewish people. There's another thing. These aren't Marxists, aren't Jews. Okay, Marxists are the Jewish segment that betrayed being Jewish because they attack Jews, legitimate Jews. Right? Not all Marxists are Jews, but predominantly they are the fake betrayers of what it is to be Jewish. Okay, and the sick pointed the symbol you see on the Israeli flag, that's not an actual symbol of Judaism. Okay, like was it the in December they'll have like the 13 candles or 12 candles, something like that. Or I forget what that. That's like, as far as I could tell offhand, that's a legitimate symbol of Judaism. Okay, and so but they'll try to make it so that you're attacking Jews. No, you're attacking a cult. Okay, two separate things. And if you don't believe me, you can go online. So they'll dress up like regular Jews, but then they'll say, hey, kill 2-3 billion people. Okay, that's not Jews because you'll see legitimate Jews saying, hey, you're in someone else's lands. We're not supposed to be in Israel for whatever religious belief. I don't know, whatever. Okay, but you're not supposed to cause trouble and go break. Why would you want to bring trouble to yourself, right? And so that's the point where you have a fake Jew or other Marxist or fascist trying to get you to have conflict with legitimate Jews because those Jews aren't actually in on it. And it's like, well, there's all these layers like, oh, I just want something easy, an easy target. You can't have an easy target. Okay. If you're the mentality of having an easy target, you should not be going out and attempting righteous force because you cannot actually, that is violence at that point. Okay. So we go back. It's all demonic. All right. It's a demonic symbol and they have like beliefs. And this is the whole thing. It's a belief is a control mechanism. That's why I reject beliefs outright. The whole concept of belief is like, well, if you don't believe, what the hell do you have? Okay, well, you have a scale. Okay. Now, do I believe, how likely, what is the weight of the possibility that the moon is made out of cream cheese? I'm going to go on a limb. I'm going to say there's a 100% chance that the moon is not made out of cream cheese. All right. But I can't verify that technically. Okay. So I have to say, 0.9 to infinity, that I am confident that the moon is not made out of cream cheese. All right. But I know, technically speaking, for proper accuracy, I can't verify that. And that's the thing is people base things off of appearance. You need to reject appearance. How many attractive people have you seen in your life? Okay, presuming the person watching this has hit puberty, all right, and they know what sexual attraction is, but that person was a total crazy pants. So yes, in some topics, all right, like reproduction, attraction is important, or for to most people, I would hope. Okay, we don't need more ugly people, and I'm saying that both physically and mentally. Okay, and so so appearance is a part of some topics, but it's not the end all be all. And so if you base things off of appearance, no, and that's why it's like they make these fake, they usurp. That means that to take over from inside and then break out. That's what they do. And so when there are these legitimate, like QAnon apparently was a legitimate thing. I can't even remember what the heck it was about. And then they infiltrated it and they rotted it from the inside. And they, whatever. I'm You'd have to do the research yourself. And I'm not saying anyone should trust me on this. I want people to go out and verify. And then you have to question where you're verifying, because the thing is, these people are attacking everyone and everything and trying to make as much mess now. And then you have fake AI, which there's no AI. Might as well make an AI video on that. Okay. And so the best thing that you can do is listen to people like me. And I know an example, and this is part of what I have to do when I help people. I have to let people know. There are times where I've literally had them use weapons where they cut my consciousness off. They've used weapons against my family to have them say, I could literally, there's mental abilities that we have that are very fuzzy, but they're there. Okay. And some people are very well honed in those abilities. I can see the mouths of the criminals talking into the microphone. Okay. As they're putting evil words into the mouths of my family. All right. I can see that. I know how that works. Okay. I know about they literally patent stuff. They put the stuff in the films right in your face because they're mocking everyone, saying, look at all the evil shit we're doing. And all this stuff is based off of contracts. Well, remind people how contracts work. In reality, okay, a contract is null and void by default before, even if it's signed, even if it's blood on it and all this other nonsense and the black magic bullshit. A contract is null and void by default if it's intended to cause harm by default. Right? The only time where harm is valid in a contract is where someone is being, like if you have law enforcement, which is not the police. And we don't have law enforcement because law enforcement, the prerequisite of law enforcement is law. And the prerequisite of law is government. And the prerequisite of government is neutrality, right? Because that's where we have equal rights, right? So going back to a contract, the only time that a contract is valid when it has, where there's physical harm in the generic sense is when there is valid, objective, rational, righteous force, not violence. And so, like a topic of late was black magic and how, like, the curse a gift. Look, it's a belief. Black magic is just another cult bullshit belief. And all religions are cults. Okay, it just did you bother to look at the fine print? Right? No. Okay. All religions are beliefs. It doesn't matter what that religion is, whether you believe it or not. You dig deep enough. You look at, like, an example of the Bible. All right, the most popular version of the Bible, the King James Bible. You do basic religion. King James is not one of the 12 disciples of Jesus. So if these events were about 2,000 years ago, that's 2,000 years where people could take these scriptures and do whatever the hell they wanted with them. And very clearly they have. There's still, I'm sure a lot of legitimate material in the Bible, but, and remember, this was, if Jesus was real, he was Jewish. All right, because that's the whole translation from Judaism to Christianity for the people that went that direction. So another whole topic. There's just people have to be aware of how subjective. And there's another minor spasm attack. how subjective their perception is and how the foundation of what they think they know as knowledge is really belief. And I'm not saying that to attack people or make people, I want people to, people think they're on solid ground, but they're out in an ocean. All right. And what happens with oceans? Eventually, you're going to have a storm and you're not going to have calm waters. Why? Because if you're, and actually a really an excellent, um, it's an excellent analogy because you're like, why is the solid ground beneath my feet suddenly, turbulent? Because you believe what you think is knowledge is knowledge when it's actually belief. You believe you're on solid ground when you're out in the middle of the ocean. And so, an example, when the police pull you over, criminal corporate policy enforcers, okay, their goal, they're not speaking English, they're speaking in legalese. They don't have the right to use emergency signals. They don't have any of that authorization. They don't have that authority. They base everything off of appearance, and they're going to try to convince you that you are driving a vehicle when in fact you are traveling in your car because they're not you speaking English, they're speaking legalese criminal language. You go to a fake court. What the criminals call a legitimate court, a legitimate court is a common law court. It's not common law, it's law. Okay. So then they try to usurp the word law, okay, and say, oh, this is law and these are courts. No, those are criminal banking offices. Okay. You get a speeding ticket, and at the fake state level, your $500 speeding ticket becomes $1 million, and you don't know how, but it's there. Okay. You exist regardless of whether I even be aware that you are more than a number on a counter on this video, but you still exist and you're still valid, right? So what about all the things that you believe and know, the experiences, what you've learned, the people that you know? That's all valid, and you might just be a one on the video counter, but that's all valid because I don't know it doesn't negate the fact that it exists. Just like all the time saying, you know, I can't verify absolutely everything, but I'm trying to say, hey, this is the light. Look here. This is what you might find, and use specific languages and terminology because that's how you're going to find this stuff. You know. So at the fake courts, you go into a fake court and say you do not have jurisdiction. You don't say you're a fake court. I know you're a fake court, so you could put two. You put these two. One and one together. This is not a court of law. This is a criminal banker office. You do not have jurisdiction. You are working for a criminal corporation masquerading as a neutral government. You do not have jurisdiction. So that's how you take what reality is and you take their criminal language and you put it together. That's how you do it. And then you look up your jurisdiction. For like an example, I was talking about the guy on Facebook before I was banned off of Facebook for being awesome. Okay. This is another manipulation. They want me to focus on sales, but here I am doing not sales, okay? Because they really really wanted to think that that's going to work. Okay, fine, whatever. Okay. And he was in like one of the territories in Australia. Okay, well then, what's your north? I don't know the territories in Australia. I'm sorry for anyone watching. Let's say Canada. So let's say you're in Manitoba, Canada. Okay, well then you look up Manitoba, Canada tort policy, TORT. Okay, and part of the thing is my time is very valuable. Anyone who listens to me say, okay, he's talking a lot of specific things. He's saying don't trust him. Go out and verify it. This is what you find. Okay, that should be very, very crystal clear to anyone who's calm, rational, and knows how to tell the difference between people who know what the hell they're talking about and bullshitters, because there's a lot of bullshitters out there. Hey, this guy's onto something. He's got direction. He knows how to put the spotlight on. He's putting the light on evil, on criminals. And that's what we need to do. Because the more people know about what criminals are doing, the less they can get away with it. As simple as that. And just say, oh, we need to get the police. No. They're in the spotlight. They're part of the criminals. Not all the police, because having criminal association and having criminal intent are two very different things. And not every cop has criminal intentions. All right. And unfortunately, that's going to come down to your individual. And someone will try to trick you. They'll turn right around and commit a crime. And some of them don't know how to articulate that. They don't know. All right. It's the same thing. Same thing with the fake government. Not everyone in the fake government knows that they're in a fake government. A lot of these people think that they're doing the best they can with what they know and their level of comprehension. But you do not give, do not shelter criminals. You have to keep even people who are legitimate under suspicion. And then on top of that, as remember, their goal is to create as much chaos as possible. They don't want good people succeeding. We're talking about literal Marxist slaver parasites. All right. So an example, they can control someone. They can cut off your consciousness. They can make you physically move, and they can make you say things. Right. So put one together, and what do you get? You have someone who literally is not aware that their consciousness has been cut off. They're going around and they can puppeteer you into committing crimes, and you don't even know it. All right, because there's no exit. It's not like a bullet where there's an entry here and an exit wound there. No, you don't know. It's all electronic warfare using microwave weapons. All right. So when you find evil pieces of shit, that's not violence. That's righteous force. Shoot them. Shoot to kill. Because not only are you obeying the law, and that's why we have the Second Amendment. It's a reminder of our irrevocable sovereign rights. And by the way, it's sovereign national, not sovereign citizen, because citizen in legalese translates into enemy combatant, by the way. All right. That's another thing where they like to, because we're all sovereign, but in legalese language, we are nationals. All right. Those people aren't immigrants, they're invaders. Okay. So there's that manipulation of language. I hope that, because this is not going to be tens of thousands of people watching this, or maybe it will be one day, I don't know. But when I post this, I hope the few people who do watch this that are not part of the stupid meeting or whatever that they're going to have watching this video, that people, you look, you see, and you interpret. You have to question even the sources when you look and when you talk to people. And remember, people only have small pieces of the puzzle. I don't have all the pieces of the puzzle. I have a lot of really critical pieces of the puzzle. And we say, if we go all the way to the very top, wherever the top is, right? Because you have the micro and the macro. Macro's at the top. Okay. There's really two situations here. Okay. Earth is just one planet. You could technically say there's hundreds of planets. You could say there's 8 planets, 9 planets, whatever. We have hundreds of bodies circling, not circling, but orbiting the sun. And we have between 100 billion to 500 billion stars estimated in just the Milky Way galaxy. We don't even know how many stars are in our own galaxy, right? That's how early we are, okay? And when we went from the Galileo telescope, with apparently the universe is 14 billion years old, to the James Webb telescope, and now the universe is like 22 billion years or something like that. If we go out and put like a telescope the size of Rhode Island, in I'm sure the universe will still be 10 trillion years old. Okay, we keep figuring this stuff out. I don't want people to think that reality is like Star Trek, where you have like Klingons and Romulans and Cardassians and whatnot, and everyone's like 2 or 3 years off, and so there's ships. No, that's not reality. Reality is most aliens have technology, have at least a few tens of thousands of years if they're out in the boonies, hanging around here. All right. And the whole notion that you take a scoop of water from the ocean, and because there's no whales in that little teaspoon of water that there's no whales in the ocean is like saying because I don't see any aliens in my room means there's no aliens on. All right. So with that pretext there, okay, I'm gonna say maybe there's an alien control and that this is all by design for that. That's scenario number one. Okay. Scenario number two, this is my best guess, is that someone say, "Oh, that's a really interesting take on it. So we're going to take our criminal enterprise and we're going to make people try to believe that, but we're actually controlling the narrative." And I would imagine in the second scenario, there are aliens out there trying to help somehow, but I don't know how organized they are or whatnot. Those are the two scenarios I think that we're facing right now. Um, I'm not going to go into all the stuff because I do believe there are people in scenarios where, like how I mentioned, there are probably some good cops, and there are probably some of those good cops realize the bullshit that's going on, but they still got to pay their bills. Now I'm getting attacked with the Spasm attack. So, by the way, just in case it's not crystal clear, a Spasm attack is only interpreted as an attack and only negative by me because it shouldn't be happening, period. Okay. So just to be explicitly clear, so there's no ambiguity because there's an occasional spasm attack. Okay. Um, so yeah, do the best. My advice to everyone is do the best you can. Presume that you're wrong, not because you're trying to attack your own confidence or your own sense of being, but because you want to negate manipulation. You don't want to harm good people. Um, and even if you see someone, and this is not an excuse, not making an excuse. If someone's doing evil shit, they need to be held accountable. But we need to be well aware of the insane levels, ironically, of work that Marxist slave or parasites are doing, okay, to not work, ironically enough. Okay. That's probably one of the largest ironies you could imagine is slavers doing evil shit to not work. And because the level of intensity of this, because like there's someone saying you have a role. Okay. So if I have a role, if this is really, aliens at the top thing, okay, and I'm not saying like, the evil half part where they're saying, oh, there's aliens, so that way you're not going to blame us, but it's really us, right? But if it's really, aliens, is like that would be, there's so much to look into. This is not a light video by any means, but these videos and what I'm saying, this stuff is absolutely necessary, and there's a lot of work to be done to destroy evil. And that is the only purpose of evil is exists only to be destroyed. And through that destruction, people need to learn you can still have a good time. And we'd all be having an absolute blast if the people before us were more responsible. Okay? Why bother having a family and making all the effort? Why bother going to work? Why bother making any effort at all if you're not going to make the full effort? The other people are not being responsible, right? And they're going to fall off the damn bandwagon. They're not going to be alive 10, 20 years from now. Agenda 2030 and all this other bullshit. Why? All right. When you're talking with people, you only talk with people who get it. Okay. You talk with people who are young and are willing to learn, and they haven't been demoralized, because that's what that is when you're talking to someone and you give them the answers. Here's how to cure your cancer. Take 20,000 IUDs of vitamin D. And they're like, no, I'm just going to do chemo. I'm just going to do what? They're demoralized. Find other people whose brains work. If you can't break through the malformed psychology of someone, talk to people. And if you're dealing with evil people, and you can't remove them, do the best you can. Surround yourself with people who are worth your time, and eventually go out and when you've got it figured out, go out and shoot evil people. because that's righteous force. And no one can put down righteous force. No one can demonize righteous force. They can only allude to it. But at the end of the day, we have all the power. You just have to realize that. And once you mentally attack all of the manipulation, because if you're a good person, we are all good people by default. All right. And it's, do you have the mental fortitude to either find redemption and come back from evil? Okay. And not as an excuse to not get shot. Because evil people, we will eventually shoot them off. Okay. Or are you going to say, you know what? By chance you came across this video. By chance you got someone who took the points and the lines and put them together in a way that makes sense. Are you gonna keep fighting? And there's another good positive thing here. I'm gonna bring up some things out of my quotes here. And there's another attack. If our struggle was hopeless, their propaganda would be unnecessary. Keep going. Okay. Let's see what else I have here. A noble heart will refuse the happiness built on the misfortune of others. Sadi, a poet. Employ your time in improving yourself by other men's writings, so that you shall gain easily what others have labored hard for. Socrates. Hence why this video is absolute fucking gold for the few people who are going to watch it. It's amazing how much panic one honest man can spread among a multitude of hypocrites. Thomas Sowell. I love that video. I love it because every time I learn something, and I don't go out of my way to cause trouble for people, but when I learn something and people are attacking me, Thomas Sowell is a black guy who was surrounded by Marxist slaver parasites. And so initially he was a parasite, but that was not, he redeemed himself because he saw good and he figured out, I can be good, I can do good, and I can be good. And he got away from evil shit. And he talked about that. So look him up, especially like on Facebook. Facebook hasn't banned you. Oh, here we go. Once is an anomaly, twice is a coincidence, 3 times is a pattern. So a few thousand times, yeah, that's more than just a pattern. The 5 essential entrepreneurial skills for success are concentration, discrimination, organization, innovation, and communication. Michael Faraday. And I love discrimination. I love discriminating against evil people. I love discriminating against jerks. I'm not going to date ugly people, ugly woman. No. All right. And if you're like, oh, you shouldn't discriminate. And that's the thing. Everything that evil people demonize, if you see it in the mainstream media, 99% of the time, because it's not an absolute, because they'll have a little manipulation. You shouldn't be racist. You should be racist. You shouldn't discriminate. You should discriminate. Everything that they demonize, almost, not entirely, but almost, you should presume everything that they say is good is evil, and everything they see is evil is good. But not, you still have to do some thinking there. The purpose of education is to free the student from the tyranny of the moment. Marcus Tullius Cicero. I believe he was Roman, but I could be wrong offhand. And that's why I try to make these videos and I post items on the blog for Jab Creations. To hell with them. Nothing hurts it if you don't let them. Ernest Hemingway. When a lot of how evil works, okay, remember, they're going to try to manipulate you, okay, and they're going to try to make you do evil. And there's ways to nullify that, and I'm not going to go through that. And so if you have people who are too weak-minded to see the manipulation or willingly refuse to see that manipulation or are being controlled and puppeteered in real time by a criminal cop working for the globalist criminal, cabal. So that, walk away from those people, because most people are good, and most people are going to see that, yeah, if you've got intelligent people, they're gonna. It's communism. There's two sentences. All right, the abolition of private property. Who doesn't own private property? Slaves. And controlling the means of production. Who produces? People. They're gonna target the leadership. I don't have a follower vibe if you've noticed. All right. And I've got my web platform, so I produce. So of course they're going to target me. Okay. So it doesn't hurt me. I nullify that. Okay. Here's a quote that speaks directly to me. You're not hard to love. You are hard to manipulate. Damn right. So those are some of my best encouragement quotes and sources. Not all of them are attributed, but they don't have to be attributed. They just have to be true. Anyway, I don't know how long this video is going to be. This is not the kind of videos I want to be posting. I want to be posting and building my business first. Um, but yes, it's here. I post these videos so that way, if they ever blank me out and permanently puppeteer me and I lose consciousness, you know who I really was and what my thoughts really were. Um, and so it's kind of like I guess, an insurance policy. And there's that. Hark, do I hear police helicopters? And yes, they do that sometimes. Anyway, it's 10:56 p.m. going on 10:57. Yeah, I got the police helicopters here. So they're very aware that I'm shooting this video. So they're very aware that attacking me and um, doing the borderline painful spasms in my knee, that's a bad thing to do. And that takes me off of the path that they want me to go on. So stop that. Otherwise, I just shoot videos all the time and we can do that bullshit. Because I control the narrative, not the other way around. Anyway, feel free to comment down below. Might take me a day or two to get back, or sometimes I get crushed, but I will try to get back. And if you don't hear from me, you can always go to jabcreations.com. Jab like a fist. That's my initials. I am John A. Balicki. Um, and if and again, question what I have to say, because if there's a manipulation, if I become relatively powerful, relatively influential, that makes me even more of a target. And so I would say anything you hear from me, say it's interesting, but go out and verify it. All right. Because there's only so much I can do to defend myself against criminals. And so it's up to every individual to go out and verify. It doesn't matter that it sounds good. It matters that you came across a possibility and you verified it instead of relying on the appearance. Those are the key parts. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Best of luck.